Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out America obliterates half of North Vietnam's MiG-21 fleet in 13 minutes. Operation Bolo by the Fat Electrician. I'm joined again by Mr. Wet Tent, if you want to say hello as usual.
Good afternoon, good evening. We're here again getting learned about another situation in history, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, do you have your phone on in the background, you fucking amateur? What is
turn that off,
yeah, I think you ought to get your full attention to the man. We got a novice in the ranks today. No, it's okay. Anyways, yes,
do not disturb now.
America's obliterates half of North Vietnam's MiG-21 fleet. I've never heard of Operation Bolo. Obviously, I'm sure at the time, America's air fleet in, well, I'm sure late 60s, early 70s time period, the time the Vietnam War took place during, their air power, to my knowledge, was much, much better than what the Soviets could field, and by definition of that, what the North Vietnamese could field at the time. That's my base level knowledge of it. I don't know if you have heard of Operation Bolo by any chance, or have any context on that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Operation Bolo. I mean, I've heard of a bolo, but that's just a term.
Yeah, well, it's a tool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess it's a phrase, like, be on lookout, right? You know, like the police will issue a bolo for a vehicle or a person, but...
Well, isn't it also like a...
goes,
isn't it like a throwing weapon also, I thought? Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought it was like a... Yeah, I thought it was like a tribal, like, fucking ankle wrapper or something. I don't know. Listen, anyway.
Jeez.
Anyways, anywho, yeah, no, Operation Bolo, I don't know much about it. Yeah, we're gonna find out what it's all about here today. If you guys enjoy, of course, make sure you leave a like, subscribe for more content, and yeah, leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Love hearing what you guys want me to check out next. And I'm a big fan of these Fat Electrician videos. Tent, I know you're quite the fan too. I know you've said some good things about them. They're very entertaining, you know, and he seems pretty knowledgeable on the subject. He does a really good job of just like talking about things that he very much has an interest in, like you can tell. So it's good to see like that kind of enthusiasm about the topic. So yeah, I'm excited to check it out. Let's leave a like on this video, of course, before we get into it. I know it's gonna fucking slam already. Yeah, captions are on, quality, let's make sure that's decent. Oh my god, I'm a novice now, holy shit. Starting things off early here. 1080p full screen, and let's get it.
Ah yes, that time during the Vietnam War where the United States Air Force finally agreed to let a double fighter ace pilot from World War II run the show, he then immediately saw to the destruction of over half of North Vietnam's state-of-the-art fighter jets, and he did it in 13 minutes.
Jesus.
Today we're talking about Operation Bolo, one of the greatest ruses in military history. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Sponsor time? Oh my god.
When I told you to get a hobby, this isn't what I meant.
You said I could pick up fishing.
Not like this.
Why?
To get out of my hair.
I don't know why she's mad. This is way better than real fishing.
Damn.
Fishing Clash lets you catch way more fish than you ever seen
Fishing Clash.
from locations all across the world from the comfort of your own home.
Oh my god.
The game's completely customizable, allowing you to unlock and upgrade all of your equipment.
I was gonna say, I know you like yourself a good fishing game, don't you? You know, you've been perusing. I know the Steam fishing sale is on. The fishing sale, it's on right now. If you guys haven't checked, it might be over now. Actually, I don't know.
I like actually fishing too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, not to. I mean. Wow. Listen, sometimes, you know, it's not always convenient to go fishing, especially if you, you know, live in the town or don't live anywhere close to a body of water. Maybe, I don't know. Fucking. Let's see what that seems like a cope term a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's see what Fishing Clash is all about.
Your own home. Not only that, the game's completally customizable, allowing you to unlock and upgrade all of your equipment and even building your own fishing village.
It's actually kind of cool.
Daily and weekly events allowing you to compete against other people. You can also join a clan and play with your friends.
That was a rack, dude.
Major League Fishing to sponsor the annual of the year. So if you guys want to give it a try, there's a QR code right there, as well as a link and a gift code down below. When you use my gift code FATFISH, you're going to get $20 worth of free equipment and power-ups, as well as a one-of-a-kind avatar. Now I'm gonna get back to fishing.
He's never gonna get out of this house.
Oh, that's a cute dog.
We're never gonna handle it by ourselves, unless he leaves that room. I know how to get him out of this house.
Finally, some people.
She just comes in with a firebomb, just fucking.
Ice fishing cuts, and I'm catching more fish than that inside my.
It is. It's actually kind of cool.
Oh, Nicholas.
I like the effort put into like even the ad here. This is cool.
Code for that little game.
Fat fish. Why?
Because
fat fish.
You.
I gotta
Oh.
go mow the lawn.
What? But it's winter out.
Oh.
No game. Ooh. Cast.
Oh shit.
All right, so Operation Bolo.
Just want to say, guys, go use code.
Little game.
Let's get it up. Code FATFISH. I'll pause right there. Let's see.
Cast.
Use code FATFISH.
Really?
Yo, use code FATFISH if you plan on downloading Fishing Clash. Yeah. That's all there's to say about that one.
Have a Legion
That was actually kind of cool though. Good effort in that.
Rolling Thunder spans from March of 1965 until November.
Also off topic on this exact same thing, but that is accurate. You know, if you want to you know, get your significant other off of a certain activity, I feel like doing it with them.
Just do the same.
I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can attest to this, but I could see some authentic. Well, in some degree, yeah, you know, in some degree, that's for sure. I don't know personally.
Release.
All right, so Operation Bolo takes place within another mission known as Operation Rolling Thunder, and Operation Rolling Thunder spans from March of 1965 until November of 1968. It is essentially the air war over North Vietnam, so super brief, oversimplified version of what's going on. The American forces are in South Vietnam, and they are fighting the VC, or the Viet Cong, which is a guerrilla fighting force. And that guerrilla fighting force is receiving supplies from the North Vietnamese via the Ho Chi Minh Trail, so America needs to try to shut down those supply lines. Logic being, if the enemy doesn't have supplies to fight, the enemy can't fight. Real base level War 101 Sun Tzu type stuff, right?
Makes sense.
Well, America pretty much has two options. They can A, invade North Vietnam with ground forces, or they can B, just attempt to bomb the holy fuck out of them. And America's going with option B, and that is what Operation Rolling Thunder is. It is
So Operation Rolling Thunder obviously happened, but didn't they eventually just end up doing both of these options to some degree? Like, you know, at some point. To a degree. I mean,
F4 Phantoms with 1,000-pound bombs.
Well, they do, but like realistically, you also have to ask how many like hundreds of thousands of troops, American troops, were in country at that time too, right? So is that not like the same thing as just full-scale boots on the ground? Obviously, at this time, right? And Operation Rolling Thunder, I'm sure we're gonna find out a little bit here. Wasn't that in Cambodia largely too? Am I misremembering?
It was just North Vietnam.
Strictly Vietnam? Okay, I don't want to misspeak, but let's see.
Bomb the holy fuck out of them, and America's going with option B, and that is what Operation Rolling Thunder is. It is just a humongous 3-year-long air bombing campaign where America is going to try to blow up so much North Vietnamese infrastructure that they can't continue to support the Viet Cong. Which honestly, it's a really good plan. What's the problem? The enemy's got nice things? Oh, well, take the nice things away. Send the planes in, bomb the roads, bomb the railroad tracks, and make it so they can't give the enemy a bunch of supplies. It's
pretty simple.
Work. And
yeah.
then the politicians got involved, and let's face it, if anybody could mess up something so simple, it's going to be a politician, because, well, honestly, they could probably fuck up boiling water. So how
That's true.
Mess it up? Well, they gave the American military a bunch of rules of engagement, which is a fancy way of saying they gave the American military a bunch of rules that only they have to follow and the enemy doesn't, essentially tying the U.S. military's hands behind its back and then sending them into battle anyways. And
I will say, like, ROEs are very like stringent things in my experience, like from what I've seen, right? Like, because you know, depending on the country you're fighting, obviously there's ROEs for a reason, right? Because you don't obviously want to break the quote unquote rules of war, right? But depending on the nation that you're fighting, they're not abiding by any such rules. You know what I'm saying? They will take every advantage over you, you know, and that's just kind of the reality of warfare. And so it's kind of, I guess, like a philosophical debate, if you will. Oh my God, I can't say the word. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a debate in that philosophical. Thank you, Jesus Christ, stroke syndrome. It's one of those, right? Like where it's kind of like, you know, do we as a Western country who have the ability to like abide by such rules, do we do so against an enemy that isn't even going to consider them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, which is a little bit wild to think that you have one side that's totally anything's game, and the other side's like, wow, we can't do this, and we can't do this unless this happens. And even in that case, we're still going to put ourselves in the fight. Yeah,
and it's also, I think, the case too of like, you know, you obviously have a lot of like issues in Afghanistan too, I want to say, right? Like we saw where it was kind of like the case of like, you know, a lot of Afghani, you know, terrorist cells, they're not abiding by the rules of war, you know what I'm saying? In the Middle East, like we saw that with a lot of people. I know I heard a lot of stories, you know, type of thing, where
shit, even what happened at the airfield a couple of years ago.
Like even that was televised, right? Yeah,
that's a great example.
That's crazy stuff, right? And because I reference that mostly because that's just like kind of like, and I'm not gonna say like fucking I was over there to see what it was like myself, but like from what you hear,
textbook,
from what you hear about, from people who were over there, kind of thing. You see a lot of shit kind of thing, and it's just it makes me think of like the morality of it a lot. But whatever, I guess this is also and also like the morality of just like absolutely carpet bombing your enemy into submission, an enemy that can't even conceive of like fighting back, you know what I mean, or shooting back to any degree. Like that's not against the rules of war, you know what I'm saying?
Still
it's just a wild argument, at the same time. I'm not arguing for one way or the other. It's just like things to think about,
And they gave the American military a bunch of rules that only they have to follow and the enemy doesn't, essentially tying the US military's hands behind its back and then sending them into battle anyways. And one of these rules of engagement, or one of these protocols that they had to abide by, was that every plane that went into North Vietnam to bomb them had to travel through a particular air corridor, and that is the only route they were allowed to take into North Vietnam.
Well, there you go, I guess. Never mind. So
the pattern that every single plane that flies into their country follows a particular path, and they then proceeded to take all of their surface-to-air missiles, all of their radars, all of their anti-aircraft capabilities in the entire country and put them in this one particular spot. And then the US government decided to keep making their guys fly right through it anyways the entire time. Now
So I want to say an effective way, of course, to nerf yourself would be, of course, to attack from one angle of approach only. Or like one of like three, you know what I'm saying? I was just saying like they have no capability of fighting back. They do when the exact fucking location they're going to be coming from, of course. Like let me reiterate. Typically, you wouldn't be under such circumstances, you would think, right? In a normal circumstance, but I guess in this case they absolutely were. Holy shit, that's quite the nerf, I won't lie.
In the entire country and put them in this one particular spot, and then the US government decided to keep making their guys fly right through it anyways the entire time. Now at this point you're probably thinking, oh my god, the politicians might actually secretly be
I wonder how many like fighters and like bombers were actually shot down during this time. Phantoms.
To gather all of their anti-aircraft resources into one location. And now we can just bomb those, take them out, and they'll have nothing left, and it'll just be green light, go everywhere. So now the US military is like, yo, politicians, can I blow that shit up now because it's right there just waiting for me? To which the politicians are like, absolutely not. In fact, we're gonna make it a rule that you're not allowed to bomb or attack any anti-aircraft sites, any surface-to-air missile arrays,
fucking stupid.
Anything, you have to leave it completely unscathed. And our logic behind that is that at those sites, there could potentially be a Chinese or a Soviet advisor that's helping out the North Vietnamese. And if we hurt one of them, it would upset the Soviets or the Chinese. And then that would be bad diplomatically, even though they're blatantly there to help run a proxy war against us. We're going to go ahead and care more about them than we are about our own pilots. So we're going to go ahead and just have you guys keep flying through that same air channel, through all the anti-aircraft everything, because fuck you. That's why. So that's exactly what happens. Every single time they fly a mission, every Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps plane has to fly through the same air corridor through a gauntlet of anti-aircraft capability on their way to deliver their payload. And then if that wasn't bad enough, the North Vietnamese got their hands on somewhere between 12 and 16 MiG-21s. And if you don't know, at this point in time, the MiG-21 is the new cutting-edge Soviet fighter jet. It is incredibly fast, it has a very high flight ceiling, and it is very nimble. And using these MiG-21s, they very quickly develop a strategy that amounts to basically guerrilla warfare in the sky, utilizing a hit-and-run tactic. So their strategy is that they are going to go specifically after the F-105 Thunder Chief, aka the Thud. It is the #1 plane that America is using in Operation Rolling Thunder in all of their bombing runs, and when it is weighed down with a bunch of bombs, it is basically a sitting duck for a MiG-21. So what ends up happening is every time a bunch of thuds get sent out,
wonder what the actual payload is on that thing. Goddamn.
Of anti-aircraft capabilities.
Beautiful.
And the arrays and everything else tells the enemy that it's a bunch of F-105s going on a bombing run, so they scramble the MiG-21s, they go up there, they intercept these F-105s, at which point one of two things can happen. The F-105s can continue on their bombing run and most likely get shot down by the MiG-21s, or they can drop their payload just over the jungle randomly in the middle of nowhere, not on target, and then make an escape and live. And bear in mind, the North Vietnamese only have a couple of these fighter jets, and they're fighting a war of attrition against
I will say modern MiG-21s at the time were actually pretty base to my understanding. Like the MiG-21 through like 23 variants, they were basically just fucking like rocket ships, were they not? Like to my knowledge,
pretty well.
Like those things were fast as fuck.
They were very maneuverable.
Yeah, like that's kind of top of the line. Like when you're talking, I'm sure a lot of the jets that Vietnam at this period in time fielded too were a lot of like older like 60s era jets, like 50s, 60s era jets as well. But I'm sure, you know, Lend-Lease program, the Soviet Union was trying to get their claws in there as much as they could. So of course they sent over some of the best equipment, and I'm assuming they're probably Soviet trained pilots there as well, right? Like if they're Vietnamese airmen, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know how that would work. I'd assume so.
Maybe like Soviet trained on the aircraft, but as far as pilots go, I'm sure there's North Vietnamese pilots.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, North Vietnamese pilots, but they had to be like Soviet trained. You know what I'm saying? Like I doubt like your average North Vietnamese person would know how to pilot a fucking MiG-21. Like, and it's also all in. And the thing is too, right? It's all in Russian, too. Like the cockpit would be completely Russian too, right? It wouldn't be in North Vietnamese. Yeah. So like that's another thing to consider too, right? Like that's what makes me kind of think like,
unless they converted them.
I guess they might have had some like homebrew variants, but capability to produce them, I just don't know how, like what that looked like in North Vietnam at that time, I guess. Perhaps they did. Like, I don't know. I'd have to look into it a little bit more, but kind of interesting.
And bear in mind, the North Vietnamese only have a couple of these fighter jets, and they're fighting a war of attrition against a much larger industrial force like America, so they are more than happy to send a plane up there, burn a little bit of fuel, get the Americans to drop tens or hundreds or millions of dollars worth of bombs on the middle of nothing, waste all their money, waste all their time, and then take their planes and land. They don't need to go out there and waste all their missiles and risk their planes. They're just going to get the Americans to waste all of their bombs on nothing. And I know what you're thinking. That seems like a pretty easy problem. What if we just bombed the MiGs while they were on the ground? Or what if we bombed the airfields that they were coming from? That way they couldn't even take off. Well, luckily we have politicians to step in and tell us once again, you're not allowed to bomb those either because there could potentially be an advisor from China or the USSR there. So
really?
Those alone too. You're only allowed to take out enemy planes when they're in the air. To which the U.S. military is like, okay, I guess we'll do the only
might be a Chinese advisor at that airfield.
Fighter jet, the F-4 Phantom II, and try to go toe to toe with the MiGs. Okay, so the stage is set. We have one of the sexiest airplanes of all time, the American F-4 Phantom II, going toe to toe.
Phantom's a beautiful aircraft.
Okay, here's what I need you to understand about this matchup. This is pretty much the golden era of military planes, okay, in my opinion. It's right before stealth technology came out and planes started to get a little bit slower because they could be sneaky. Now, no. Planes built during this period were just straight up, let's be fast as fuck and carry a ton of firepower. Yeah. It's the hot rod era of military planes. And both of these...
Also, I want to say, too, like the personalization for planes at that point, too. You know what I mean? Like, I think airmen were they were allowed to like kind of like customize their aircraft. You saw a lot of like pinup art and shit on the planes, I think, during that time as well. And, you know, especially on like the helmets of like GIs and shit in country too. Like there was, I don't know, like I know they didn't really like that. Like I think like brass was typically against like, that, right? But
for the most part, an expression of how they didn't want to be there.
Yeah, for the most part. Well, in terms of airmen, I don't know how true that is. In terms of airmen, like
definitely infantry.
I saw a lot of like, you know, pin up like, you know, like girl art and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it was still pretty, you know, classic, like, you know,
pin up.
Like pinup stuff, you know what I'm saying? But it was cool. I liked it, you know, a lot of cartoon stuff as well. But on obviously like the helmets of like GIs and shit, you'd see a lot of like crazy anti-war sentiment, which is like, holy shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously. And again, like the thing is too, is support in country in America at that time was like pretty staunchly against the war. I feel like the average person was not really for it. So you're going over there for how many tours doing this and then coming back for what, you know what I mean? You're not seen as like any type of hero, you know, by your own people even. So it's just like intervention was not really the right call in my mind during that time period, but what do I know, right? Who knows?
carry a ton of firepower. It's the hot rod era of military planes. And both of these planes are built on that doctrine. The F-4 Phantom tops out at like 1,400 miles an hour.
That's fucking nuts.
The MiG-21 tops out at like 1,300 miles an hour. The F-4 Phantom is like twice the size of the MiG-21. It's got a way bigger fuel.
It's like 2,300 kilometers an hour.
It can carry a lot more payload.
Something like that.
The MiG-21, on the other hand, it's a lot smaller, it's a lot lighter, it's nimbler, but it doesn't have as much range. So the MiG-21 in an up-close dogfight is probably going to be better with its gun, whereas the F-4 Phantom, not really intended for up-close dogfighting, it doesn't even have a gun. Because it has a more advanced radar and missiles, it can take the enemy out from 29 miles away. It doesn't even need to see the enemy to shoot him out of the sky, so why on earth would it need a gun? Okay,
these things are the most cancer fucking things to fight in War Thunder that I've ever fought. I just want to say that now. Bro, you gotta, if you play high tier jets, any of you MiG users, you know what I'm saying, and you fucking see a Phantom, you're just dead. Like, let me just say that. You're fucking just dead.
Yourself.
It sucks. It's awful.
A horrible experience.
It's awful. It's not fun. It's not fun at all, because you see the Phantom appear on your fucking screen, and then you just hear and you explode, and that's all that happens.
That's right.
It's fucked.
Yeah, very realistic.
Yeah, realistic experience, that's for sure. By the way, if you want to sponsor me, War Thunder, hit me up. My email's in the description.
Because it has a more advanced radar and missiles, it can take the enemy out from 29 miles away. It doesn't even need to see the enemy to shoot him out of the sky, so why on earth would it need a gun? Okay, the F-4 Phantom's MO is to haul ass, shoot half-court shots, and have a dope-ass paint job the entire time it does it. So, just so we're all on the same page, Soviet MiG-21, American F-4, very much peers to one another. They are both capable of taking the other out. They both pose a huge threat to one another. However, theoretically speaking, the MiG-21 should have an advantage in an up-close dogfight due to its maneuverability and its gun, whereas the F-4 has the advantage because it can just shoot down the MiG-21 before it even gets close enough for a dogfight to occur. So, MiG-21, better up close, F-4, better far away. So that's it. That's the solution, right?
Like
the
15 kilometers away, it feels like.
The MiGs down from like 20 miles away before the MiGs even know they're there.
Even further, great.
Ta-da!
Cancer.
Luckily, the North Vietnamese, the American politicians step in yet again with another exciting rule of engagement. Guess what? You're not allowed to shoot at enemy aircrafts until you have visual confirmation.
That's fucking stupid.
Enemy aircraft. Translation, the American F-4 pilots literally are not allowed to start fighting the MiG-21s until the MiG-21s have the advantage, which is absolutely insane to think about.
So imagine like investing how many like billions of dollars potentially in like you know, high-tech radar to be able to detect like enemy fighter jets at high speeds, you know, and then suddenly you're just not going to fucking use it. You need visual confirmation of your target before you open fire, you know, to the point where you're
process like, oh, we don't need it right now.
What the fuck, like your missiles
just don't use it.
Your missiles aren't even fucking effective within a certain range anyway, so like why the fuck even, like what the fuck, like you're not going to be able to catch lock. Like I don't understand that, you know. It would be a lot harder, that's for sure. I'm sure they obviously still do it, you know, to some degree. Like look at the fucking title of this video, but like it just seems like a stupid nerf. Like why invest so much money into a system like that and then totally not utilize it? Like it just seems crazy to me.
Until the MiG-21s have the advantage, which is absolutely insane to think about. Like literally the equivalent of walking up to an infantryman and being like, hey, here's a sniper rifle. Also, you're not allowed to shoot people with it. You're only allowed to use the bayonet. And there's
literally
no bayonet because we didn't design it with a bayonet lug because it's only designed to shoot people from really far away. Get bent. And just in case that wasn't bad enough, what makes
go rifle butt them with this 50 cal.
Most of the F-4 pilots are only trained on the American F-4, which wasn't really designed for up-close dogfighting with a gun because it doesn't have a gun. So most of them don't really know how to conduct an up-close dogfight because they've never been trained to do it, because that's not what their plane is supposed to fucking do. So there's really no good answer, and this goes on for a little while where basically the F-105s go up, the MiG-21s go up, intercept, the F-105s are then forced to drop all their bombs in the middle of nowhere and take off just so they can survive. The MiG-21s then go and land, and that just repeats itself ad nauseum. But then in September of 1966, something happened that would change everything, because the 8th Fighter Wing out of Udong Thai Royal Air Force Base would get a new commander, and that commander was none other than the legendary fighter pilot, Colonel Robert.
So this is 66. This is very early in the war.
This guy, and you already know he's the main character. Yeah. I mean, look at the lip sweater on this man. It's the most magnificent taco flosser I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, let me break this down for you. Anytime.
I just want to say that guy looks like your typical like officer. I just want to say, like, with that fucking mustache, dude. Like he you know, looks like a Chad, I have to say. Fuck, what a guy. Also, I really like the berets that they have going on there. That little cap badge they have there, it looks nice. Looks nice.
Yeah,
Do they still?
cool.
Is it
Stylish.
Is it the same style today? Like, I don't know. I don't
know.
Yeah, it's a good question actually. I have to look it up.
Magnificent taco flosser I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, let me break this down for you. Anytime you've ever seen a movie with the cool bad boy character that doesn't follow the rules, it's also a fighter pilot, it's based off of this guy, whether you know it or not. Okay,
really?
I understand the gravity of the situation here. This man's mother passed away when he was 4 years old, and he was raised by a single father that was also a full-time Army pilot and a World War I veteran. This guy was essentially bred to be a fighter pilot. He went to West Point where he became an All-American football player at 6'2".
World War I pilot is crazy.
He went on to become a fighter pilot in World War II. Now, if you shoot down 5 or more enemy planes, you become an ace pilot. It's kind of a really big deal. And Robin Olds was a double ace in World War II. This man literally prestiged in the most extreme air-to-air combat the world has ever seen.
I wonder, was that Pacific Front?
A triple ace in Vietnam. And at the age of 40...
No? I want to go back. I just want to see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Those are Nazi flags.
Yeah, those are Nazi flags.
That's a Mustang.
That's a Mustang. Yeah, that's not a P-38. That's for sure. Fuck, beautiful plane. Look at that. Look at that, dude.
That might not be a Mustang.
Well, I don't know.
Like a P-39.
Maybe.
Like an Air Cobra.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say.
It is. Or early Mustang, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, but look, that looks fucking, I gotta say, that looks pretty nice. Fucking, damn, dude. If you ever got shot down, you would not be taken prisoner, though. That's all I'm saying. Like, that would not look good. Holy shit.
World has ever seen, and he's about to become a triple ace in Vietnam. And at the age of 44, nonetheless, how's the old saying go? Be
a triple ace in Vietnam.
Man's game. Yeah, this is the main character for sure. And like
so wait,
great main characters.
I just like, is it just this fucking guy that basically gets it done? Like, I just want to like confirm what he just said, right? He's gonna kill 15. Surely not, right? Like, you don't have enough missiles, right? Well,
there's got to be more.
There's got to be a few more guys involved, right? Let's see.
Yeah, this is the main character for sure. And like most great main characters, Robin Olds has a lot of very high-ranking...
Conducted a ramming maneuver with his jet.
Because he's not afraid to ruffle a couple of feathers to get his point across. And most recently, the argument that he's been having with the establishment is the fact that the F-4 Phantom, the main fighter jet for the United States military, should probably have a gun on it. He also has an issue with how these new pilots are being trained because they're not really being trained how to actually dogfight. They're just being trained how to haul ass, intercept a plane, and shoot a missile at it, as opposed to actually getting into a close quarters fight. And the chain of command is basically telling Robin Olds, like, hey, look, you're old. They don't do it like that anymore. You were fighting in World War II in P-51 Mustangs and P-38 Lightnings. This is not what's going on anymore. These kids are flying F-4 Phantoms that can fly at 1,400 miles an hour and shoot missiles and take out targets from 30 miles away. We don't need to teach them up-close dogfighting anymore because they're never actually going to use it because the technology eliminates the need for that. But you know what technology doesn't fix? Politicians being fucking stupid. So now everybody has to fight like it's World War II in a dogfight because they're not allowed to use the technology the way they're supposed to because politicians that don't understand what they're talking about get to make up all the rules. So
that is kind of crazy.
Robin Olds to go take over command of the 8th Fighter Wing.
Indeed.
He shows up and immediately earns everybody's respect. Keyword, earns it. Doesn't just get it given to him. And the way that he earns it is one of the best examples of leadership that I have ever read about. This man shows up to take command of an entire fighter wing as a double ace World War II pilot and a legend, and he decides to immediately put himself on the flight roster as a rookie to get trained on how to better use the F-4 Phantom because he's not very well acquainted with it, and he lets all the men that are lower than him train him on this plane. He didn't come in all
That's
cocky.
pretty based.
He wasn't some arrogant prick. He just admitted, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I've flown a lot of planes. I'm not super great with the F-4 Phantom. I need to get great with it so I can lead you guys, and that's exactly what he did, and it immediately earned him all the respect in the world. So
and that's like such like a stark difference from like modern day brass, you know what I'm saying, that make decisions for like equipment that they have no fucking idea what they're talking about or how it's utilized in the field because they've never practically used it, or they're just ancient. No offense, of course, they're just ancient, and you know they practically have not seen any sort of field combat in 30 fucking years, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like the case of like, holy shit, like they're just kind of out of touch.
Or like equipment's being designed by people who never actually use the equipment they're designing.
Yeah, like infantry equipment being designed by the Air Force. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, what Air Force kit might consist of, what Air Force quote unquote field kit consists of, is a fucking poncho that they lay it down on the range for, that they go and they shoot for every fucking year, like once a year, you know what I'm saying? Like that's airman, like, you know, field equipment, right? Like, let's be honest here, it's much different than like, you know, infantry equipment. Now obviously you get issued the same stuff, of course, but like then you have airmen obviously designing infantry equipment in the future. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, you know what I'm saying? There's issues with that for sure, when it comes to practicality, let's say.
So I can lead you guys, and that's exactly what he did, and it immediately earned him all the respect in the world. So Robin takes some time to get acquainted with the F4 Phantom, and within a couple of weeks, he's already flying the plane better than most of the trainers. So now that Robin Olds is caught up on the F4 Phantom to where all of his guys are, he is now going to teach these young whippersnappers how to dogfight like it's World War II. And this is like the cool moment from all the movies where old schools teach a new school how to get shit done anyways, okay? This is Rocky teaching Adonis Creed how to box. This is Doc teaching Lightning McQueen that sometimes you got to turn right.
Creed is a great movie.
And while all of this is happening, Robin Olds, in another great display of leadership, realizes that there's not enough of him to go around, and he needs backup. He needs another badass World War II era pilot to come over and help him get these guys ready. So Olds calls in a couple of favors, gets one of his longtime friends transferred over to the 8th Fighter Wing to help him run the show, and that friend is none other than the legendary pilot Daniel Chappie James Jr., aka the Black Eagle. Okay, in the late 1930s, early 1940s,
the Black Eagle
was a civilian pilot at the Tuskegee Institute.
Holy shit.
Contracted by the U.S. government to train U.S. pilots how to fly. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you this.
Oh, he was a Tuskegee Airman? Yo, that's kind of base. Look at that.
That is pretty cool.
That's actually pretty sick, man. Holy shit. No, I had no idea. I've never heard of this guy before. I have to look him up a little bit more.
Trained the famous Tuskegee Airmen from World War II.
Oh, is that a Mustang?
Enlisting and becoming one himself in 1943. After enlisting, he became an officer, at which point he was deemed too valuable as a trainer, so that's what he did for the duration of World War II, continued to train an entire generation of fighter pilots, and never actually saw combat himself. Then, in Korea, he would fly over 100 combat missions before working at the Pentagon.
Holy shit.
He ended up meeting Robin Olds. After this, he goes on to become the first black man to become a 4-star general in the United States military. This man is also...
That is pretty base. 4-star general as like a black guy during that time period, I have to say, like, that's like fucking big respect to that guy. Holy shit, you know, that's a lot of balls, I have to say, you know. And I mean, again, like during that time, right, like you just didn't see things like that necessarily happen, you know. So that's really awesome to see, I'm not gonna lie, especially during this time in the 60s here.
Black man to become a 4-star general in the United States military. This man is also a complete badass, so Uncle Sam is essentially playing Operation Bolo on co-op mode with 2 main characters.
Operation Bolo on co-op mode, oh my god.
Wow. With his old friend Robin Olds, they become
taking his buddy in.
Effective chain of command, and they are absolutely loved by all of their subordinates. Because of that, this leadership duo is given a nickname that is originally intended as a term of endearment, although by today's standards is probably not very politically correct, and that nickname was Black Man and Robin. Now, all the
that's awesome. I love that, dude.
They're running combat operations, and Robin Olds finally gets an idea of how to stop these new badass MiG-21s. By this point, Robin Olds is completely caught on to the MiG-21's entire strategy. They have zero interest in actually fighting with the F-4s, which is driving Robin Olds nuts because he's a World War II era fighter pilot. That's exactly the type of shit that he's into. These MiG-21 pilots, however, just want to go up there, use guerrilla warfare tactics where they just either hit the F-105s or don't hit the F-105s and just convince them to drop their payload.
For him too, I have to say, like, for this guy, not to cut him off mid-speech there, just thought that rose my mind. For him too, I could see how this would be very irritating for him because, again, during World War II, right, you have to think of the enemies that you're fighting, right? You're fighting either the German Reich in Europe, or you're fighting Japan in the Pacific Front. Both of these enemies fought with such like staunch fucking resistance, you know what I'm saying? And
it's a totally different ballgame.
And they were given like the total fucking defeat order, you know what I'm saying? Like, you will go up there and you will fucking engage the enemy, and you're not gonna fucking retreat. You're not gonna just like fuck around, you know. You will engage the enemy and you will kill as many of them as you can, because guess what? Like, there's gonna be 100 more after you know what I mean? Or after them, you know. So it's just kind of like the case of like, you know, and too, you see like the staunch fanaticalism, I guess, in like Europe too. You know, like they had planes, for example, that just like were meant to get you in the air. They ran out of fuel after like fucking 5 minutes, and you just essentially glided to your target, you know. They had planes like that, like crazy shit, right? Just because of the desperation of it. So I could really see how like this type of combat would completely fucking get under this guy's nerves 100%.
Oh yeah.
into. These MiG-21 pilots, however, just want to go up there, use guerrilla warfare tactics where they just either hit the F-105s or don't hit the F-105s and just convince them to drop their payload prematurely and waste everybody's time and then take back off. The MiG-21s have zero interest in tangling with the F-4s, which Ron Olds interprets as, I need to force these MiG-21s to fight me. So how's he going to do that? Well, here's his plan. The reason the MiG-21s can identify the F-105s so efficiently is because the F-105s have a jamming pod on them that basically disrupts and interferes with the surface-to-air missiles down below. It messes up their radar so that the F-105s aren't going to get taken out by all the anti-aircraft stuff on the ground. Problem with that is that emits a frequency that the North Vietnamese can see. They then know that a bunch of F-105s are coming, so they scramble the MiGs. So Robin Olds decides, hey, let's take those jamming pods, mount them to mine and all the guys' F-4s, and then we'll fly there like we're F-105s in a bombing formation, and the MiGs will come attack us. And by the time they get close enough to realize that we're not F-105s,
that's pretty smart, actually.
Ideally, it's going to be too late. Yeah, the legendary World War II double fighter aces just went to the chain of command and requested permission to execute the old Wile E. Coyote in a sheep costume to catch the Roadrunner strategy. Now,
straight up,
going to work, but there are a bunch of problems with this idea. Biggest problem right out of the gate is this doesn't solve the issue with rules of engagement, because remember, you're not allowed to fire on the enemy until you have visual confirmation that it is your enemy, and by then the MiG-21s have an edge in air-to-air combat. Okay, not a big deal though, because Robin has a two-step plan for that as well. Okay, step number one, he knows that they only have 12 to 16 MiG-21s, so he's just gonna roll in with 28 F-4s. Okay, just completely
holy shit,
if they do have an edge in air-to-air combat. Okay, step number two, which is quite
that makes sense. I could totally see that. Yeah, because like America can field an absolute fucking quantity over North Vietnam at this point for 100%. So yeah, I mean, to give like to neutralize any type of edge, like typically, I know at least on the ground, you always want to kind of engage with like a 3-to-1 advantage if you can. I don't know if it's the same case in the air, especially given like tech at this time. But yeah, 3-to-1 advantage typically will neutralize any technological edge, ideally, right? That they may have, right? So I guess that's kind of the idea here. In the case of having to close the distance and assume visual contact, it's going to allow for any of these supporting jets to just be able to lock on. You know what I mean? To have their speed and lock on, kind of thing.
I think 28 F4 Phantoms would absolutely fuck anything up.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to compete with that, you know. Holy shit, Phantoms are still used largely by some countries today, are they not? I think
few in between, but yeah,
I don't think largely, but
still have them in service.
Yeah, like to some degree. I don't know which countries. But they're not in use by the U.S. I don't think anymore. They got outphased years ago. So. Yeah. But like you know. Less well-off countries, like, you know, Canada should invest in some Phantoms. Honestly, good aircraft. You know, we could probably afford some of those with our budget. So, yeah, you know, good investment actually. Unironically, yeah, definitely.
Completely overwhelm them, even if they do have an edge in air-to-air combat. Okay, step number two, which is quite frankly the big ask, he wants the entire U.S. military to shut down all air operations over Southeast Asia while he conducts this operation. He wants the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, none of them to have any birds in the sky whatsoever. And his reason for that is so that he can bypass the rules of engagement. You see, the only reason the politicians...
I was gonna say, I was literally gonna guess this earlier, like straight up, like how much you want to bet the rules of engagement just become rules of suggestion.
Possibility.
Yeah, rules of suggestion.
Like,
and they're just like,
shoot a friendly if there are
oops. None. Yeah, or nobody's around except his air group to witness it, quote unquote. And it's like, oh yeah, we 100% saw them, right? Like I saw them, right? Clear as day. There they were, you know. Fuck, 30 kilometers away.
For that is so that he can bypass the rules of engagement. You see, the only reason the politicians are enforcing that rule of engagement where you have to have visual confirmation before you fire on an enemy plane is because there's a ton of planes in the air over Southeast Asia at all times, and Vietnam is already super controversial over in America, and the last thing the politicians want to have to deal with is headlines that an American plane shot down another American plane, so they just made the
that could look pretty bad.
Shoot at anything unless you can visually see 100% for certain that it is in fact an enemy. So if Robin can make sure that the only planes in the sky are his guys and the enemy, he should be able to go bombs away the entire time and not have to worry about it. So obviously this is a massive request, and the chain of command says yes.
Damn.
Son of a bitch.
Wow.
Okay, so now the last thing we got to figure out, how do we make sure that these MiG-21s don't slip away? Because they're so nimble and they're so fast, they could pull a tight maneuver and be back at base before we're going to be able to catch them. So How are we going to prevent that? As soon as the MiG-21s take off and get in the air, they're going to send half of the F-4s to haul ass past the entire future battlefield, and they're just going to do hot laps around the enemy airfield, making it so the enemy can't go to land without fighting through those F-4s first, which effectively is going to give the pilots of the MiG-21s two options. They can stand and fight the F-4s, retreat, and fight the other F-4s, or they can retreat, have nowhere to land, and eventually run out of gas. And remember, the F-4s have a much larger gas tank, so they are definitely going to run out of gas first. So it's a perfect plan. There's just one small problem left. How are we going to know when the MiG-21s take off and leave the airfield? Because if we send the F-4s out too soon, then the MiG-21s won't take off at all, and then we can't bomb them on the ground, and it defeats the entire purpose of the mission. Easy
that makes sense.
We're going to get two spy planes, the C-130B2, aka the Silver Dawn. At this point in time, it is a state-of-the-art electronic warfare spy plane, and it's going to be able to receive all the enemy radio transmissions.
Have you heard of those types of planes before? I just want to.
Yep.
I've never seen this. Cool. Yeah, this was it a triple
it's just
turbine?
A standard C-130. Yeah.
Yeah, electronic capabilities on it.
Yeah. It's just basically a massive flying radar in a pop can.
Holy shit! Yeah, I mean it looks very pop can shaped. Look at that nose, dude. Holy fuck, that's pretty obtuse.
Beefy boy.
That is pretty chunky.
B2,
Beefer.
aka the Silver Dawn. At this point in time, it is a state-of-the-art electronic warfare spy plane, and it's going to be able to receive all the enemy radio transmissions, so they're going to be able to tell as soon as the enemy MiG-21s take off. And obviously, given the fact that that was such an easy problem to solve, bureaucracy is obviously going to step in and make it extremely difficult, because the US military only has like 20 of these Silver Dawn spy planes, and while they are technically the property of the United States Air Force, they are directly under the command of the NSA, the National Security Agency, and they are super duper stingy about whoever gets to use these planes. Basically, the NSA gets final say as to whether or not this plane gets to participate in this mission, and that means that they're going to have to go through some stupid bureaucratic process where they ask for permission, it gets run up the chain of command like 30 people deep, and then finally some bureaucrat has to take responsibility. They're not going to do that because they don't want to put their ass on the line, so it's probably just going to be a big fat no, you can't use this plane, even though it's probably going to make the whole mission work. Now, this is normally the part of the story where the hero strategically transfers a piece of equipment to an alternate location, so
nice, good little plug there.
However, he doesn't have to do that.
I respect that.
What he do instead is decide to not tell the NSA anything.
But what Mama don't know won't hurt her.
True.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
They're not going to tell the NSA anything. I mean, they are somehow going to keep it a secret from the NSA, the whole part of the story where the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Army ground every single bird that's not on this mission. They're going to somehow keep that a secret from the fucking spy agency so that...
Wait, I didn't realize that was the... I didn't realize that was the whole, like, operation they were trying to keep a secret. Oh, yeah. Like, I thought it was just the use of the spy planes. No, like, the fact that they're going to ground every fucking, like... vehicle. Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Like the fact that isn't it nuts like how like back in the day you could just like pull shit like that off like straight up like you could just get away with that like because today like you could never like I feel like
no there's no way
like within 10 minutes they would be like what the fuck are you doing like straight up like yeah shoot him take him down. He's down Codeine. No, but like straight up like you see instances of just like tomfuckery from people and it's just like it's for a good cause, right? Don't get me wrong, it's for a great cause and you're just trying to ignore some of that bureaucratic red tape, but it just does happen so frequently. You see it a lot. It's good when it happens. Sometimes it's good when it happens, other times maybe not so much.
On this mission. They're going to somehow keep that a secret from the fucking spy agency so that they go ahead and send up their two Silver Dawns doing hot laps around the Gulf of Tonkin that they have going around every single day. So that those two planes are in the air participating on this mission, whether the NSA knows it or not. And then as soon as the mission kicks off, they're going to radio over to them and just have them tell them whether or not the MiG-21s took off. It's both genius and hilarious because now, even if the NSA does find out after the fact and get all pissed off, all the Air Force chain of command has to do is be like, oh, you guys didn't get that memo? We sent it. At which point they're basically going to be forced to just drop the issue because none of them are going to want to take responsibility for not passing along the memo that never actually got sent. So that's it. This
that's fair.
Approved. Operation Bolo is gonna happen. So they hurry up. They get all the jamming pop.
Bro, I gotta say, a memo in the military is such, dude, that actually just, I think that triggered me a little bit hearing that word, you know what I mean? Like sending up a memo. Yeah, well, you know, why don't you send up a memo? Yeah, oh my god, dude. Gosh. It fucking hurts me, you know, and then suddenly, that got lost. I didn't, it must have just not got handed in. No, the clerk must have not handed it to me. Fuck, dude. Fuck.
Yep.
I hate that shit.
Horrible.
Actually, cancer is what that was.
That's it. This mission gets approved. Operation Bolo is gonna happen. So they hurry up, they get all the jamming pods off of F-105s, they mount them on the F-4s. And while that's going on, they schedule it with the entire US military, all 4 branches, that nobody is to have planes in the air on January 2nd, 1967, except for the NSA, of course. Somebody forgot to tell them. So January 2nd rolls around, the Silver Dawn spy planes are already in the air, the F-4s are on the airstrip with the jamming pods mounted and they're ready to go, and it's fucking cloudy and overcast out, which is not good for this entire mission. But also, fuck it, there's nothing they can do. They have to run this mission right now. They shut down the skies over all of Southeast Asia to get this shit done. It has to happen right now.
Yeah, it can't stop for a bit of weather, that's for sure.
I mean, even inside of the Art of War, Sun Tzu once said, and I quote, "You can plan a pretty picnic,
Jesus.
But you can't predict the weather." Wait a minute. How did the lyrics to Miss Jackson get inside of my Sun Tzu book?
Oh.
I guess I was Andre 3000. I apologize. A trillion times. Anyways, point stands. The mission goes. So the F-4s get put up in the air, and there's 7 flights of F-4s. Each flight is 4 F-4s for a total of 28, and they are all named after cars. Flight 1 is named Olds, being led by Robin Olds. Flight 2 is Ford, led by Chappie, and Flight 3 is Rambler, being led by Captain John Stone. And everything they do follows exactly what the F-105s would normally do. They're
disappointing they didn't go for beer names.
Using the same radio
I was hoping to hear Heineken or Budweiser. Yeah.
Their radio transmissions get intercepted, and they're emitting the same jamming frequencies as well, using those pods. So sure enough, the MiGs show up, and wouldn't you know it, the first guy to see one is none other than Robin Olds. He immediately splits his flight into 2 groups of 2, and Olds and his wingman take off after this MiG. Olds fires 2 radar-guided missiles, and they both end up losing their lives.
Think that's real footage from these incidents?
Then closes the distance more so he can fire a heat-seeking missile.
Or is it just like stock?
And then the MiG that he's chasing goes into the clouds and he loses them entirely. And as soon as he loses sight of that MiG, another MiG is screaming.
This obviously isn't, I know that.
So close that Olds can't just make a normal turn. Without batting an eye, Olds immediately hits a vector roll, which is a technique right out of the World War II dogfighting handbook. It's essentially you nose up and you do a backflip corkscrew maneuver and end up behind your enemy. And as he's mid-vector roll upside down pulling G's, he gets a radio transmission from Captain Johnson of Rambler Group saying, "Hey, I just got into the battlefield. Where are you? I heard that you're engaging an enemy." Olds finishes the vector roll, gets behind this MiG, radios back to Stone, finds your own, and then fires a missile and blows up the first MiG-21. At this point, the rest of the MiGs kind of figure out that the Americans have tricked them, and they're now basically locked inside of the Thunderdome.
Straight up like a Top Gun moment, dude.
And the entire thing devolves into one enormous dogfight. And remember, the other 4 flights aren't there yet. They're lagging behind a couple of minutes, so we still just have the original 3 flights of Olds, Ford, and Rambler for a total of 12 F-4s going toe-to-toe with an unknown number of MiGs, potentially as many as 16. Now, cutting
Jesus.
Like Chappie has a MiG on his tail and he has no idea because his radio is malfunctioning and he can't hear his wingman telling him, "Hey, you have an enemy on your tail." So his wingman does the only thing he can think of. He handles it by himself. Bear in mind, it is Chappie, the MiG, and then his teammate. So his teammate can't fire any missiles because he can't risk that missile accidentally locking onto Chappie. So
yeah, I was gonna say their radar on their missiles at that point, like it didn't really give a fuck what plane you were aiming at. There's no type of like identifying signature. It's just lock on and fire and forget, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like type of style,
scary
right?
Shit.
Yeah, it is.
He can't fire any missiles because he can't.
That's the downside of not having a gun though on your plane, for sure.
So he has to perform another vector roll. He noses up, does a corkscrew, backflips, and that puts him at 90 degrees from where he was previously. So now he's coming this way towards the enemy, and he fires heat-seeking missiles and blows up the MiG-21 behind Chappie without Chappie even knowing that it happened. Chappie then immediately engages 2 MiGs that are directly in front of him, and while that's going on, cutting back over to Olds, his wingman informs him that, hey, his secondary fuel tank isn't feeding fuel for some reason, so he's already low on fuel.
I gotta say, I really like the coordination here, right? Like you had one guy without a radio, right? Radio miscommunication there, not miscommunication, failure, I should say. And like your wingman just kind of handled it for you, you know what I mean? While you were locked on other targets, engaging those, right? The coordination is very, very well done here. You can kind of see them working as a team, working in their own fighting groups, and those fighting groups working well amongst themselves here. I don't know what the radio technology was like in the MiGs. I'd assume Soviet, so probably a little bit worse. I would have to assume. I don't know though, right? But like great coordination here, especially without a radio. That's fucking pretty nuts to see. Very locked in shit. Indeed. Very locked in shit.
His secondary fuel tank isn't feeding fuel for some reason, so he's already low on fuel. They're 5 minutes into this dogfight, and Robin Olds makes the call that he is going to escort his wingman out of the target area and back to the airfield, which is yet again another phenomenal display of leadership. He could have ordered somebody else to do it, so he could have stayed in the fight and soaked up more kills and padded his stats, but no. He did it himself. For the next 8 minutes, the remaining 10 F4s engage every MiG-21 they can find until they have either been blown up or have disappeared and are hiding in the clouds. So at this point, the F4s call it a day. They head back to base. The other 4 flights of F4s didn't even make it to the target zone in time. So 12 of the 28 F4s in the air actually engage the enemy. As the F4s start showing up, they start landing. The ground crews are there waiting with anticipation to find out how
Man, I almost feel bad for like the other like flight groups there, because like they totally got fucking teased there that entire day. That's like straight up like some like 3rd platoon shit, you know what I'm saying? Like you're getting in there last and you're just slugging your ass 10 kilometers while everyone else does all the work. Yeah, and you're just cleaning up, you know what I'm saying? Like that's some shit, bro. Like fucking shout out to all the 3rd platoon guys. Fuck.
As the F4s start showing up and they start landing, the ground crews are there waiting with anticipation to find out how it went. I mean, this is one of the coolest missions ever done, probably the coolest thing a lot of these guys are ever going to be involved with. So they're super pumped to hear how it went. As the F4 canopies open up, the pilots start holding up fingers of 1s and 2s, telling everybody how many MiGs they shot down. And the entire an enormous party. They're celebrating. All these guys are just absolutely pumped that they
I don't know, man. Airmen just know how to have a good time no matter what. Like, I don't know.
In this 13 minutes of absolute chaos, and first and foremost, the best news, not a single American.
Because like, see, you don't see that with the infantry, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get back to like your bib and you're like, oh yeah, I killed 5 people, yeah. Like that just doesn't happen. And then you drink beer and crack open the champagne. Like that just doesn't happen, you know what I'm saying? It's a much different culture, that's for sure. Yeah, you know, it's a little bit different, you know, I feel like, that's for sure. Holy shit.
And in this 13 minutes of absolute chaos, and first and foremost, the best news, not
put the coffee on, boys. Like fuck.
They figure out that they for sure shot down 7 MiG-21s with an additional 2 probable for a total of as many as 9, and bear in mind that the North Vietnamese only had somewhere between 12 and 16 to begin with. So at worst, Operation Bolo has effectively destroyed at least half of North Vietnam's MiG-21 fleet. Okay, and there's always going to be that one guy in the comments section like, buh, I can't believe you made an entire video about them only shooting down 7 aircrafts, buh. Okay, first of all, this isn't a video game, this is real life, and going 7-0 against peer aircrafts is absolutely incredible.
That is a great ratio, I will say.
It didn't just destroy half of the enemy MiG-21 fleet, it also destroyed their entire fleet's operational capability, and that is because now they can't make a mistake like that again because they've lost half of their fucking planes. If they do that, they won't have any. In addition to that, now they have no way of knowing if it's actually a bunch of F-105s are getting sent up to fight or if it's another trap. So now the remaining MiG-21s are going to be and more sparingly used, which is going to save countless F-105s in the long run. So in conclusion, Operation Bolo has gone down in history as one of the most successful ruses of all time, and it serves as a shining example of why you should never underestimate a couple of old men in a young man's game. In addition to that, it also proved something that I previously thought to be impossible, that you can in fact overcome the stupidity of politicians. The bad news is that you have to be a superhero
straight up,
like Robin Olds or Daniel Chad.
Both those guys are straight up Chads, man. Look at those guys.
Let's go buy some merch over the Fat Electrician.
Oh, look at that merch, bro. That's actually cool merch.
It's not a war crime the first time.
It's exactly, bro.
You look pretty hot.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's going on a blooper reel.
Oh.
Ask.
Whoa.
Where are you?
Let's watch the end here. People say we should watch the end.
Your own. I thought that was pretty selfish of him at the time, but there's plenty left.
Deliberately planned fighter sweep went just as we'd hoped. The MiGs came up. The MiGs were aggressive. We tangled. They lost.
Damn, dude. Nice. That's a pretty good quote there. I like that. No, that was a great video by the Fat Electrician. I can't believe just how much politicians really stifled their own efforts there. Like, see, the thing is I feel like America really could have cleaned up Vietnam if the military was kind of allowed to act early on before the war kind of gained momentum for the North Vietnamese forces, right? Because when you're talking it going on for a sustained period amount of time, right? support in country is only going to grow, in my opinion, the longer an occupying force is there, right? So you kind of have to clean that shit up immediately. We saw the exact same thing happen, I think, in Afghanistan with Canada and America, right? We were there far too long, and what did it really achieve? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just really, it didn't do anything for us to be there for as long as we were, kind of thing, in my opinion. And it's just like kind of crazy, like just like the lengths like politicians will in an effort to make themselves look good will stifle their own war effort. You know what I'm saying? Because like ideally, right, the whole point of going to war in the first place is to win the war, right? So if you're gonna start pulling punches halfway through for no other reason other than like your political fucking, what would you call it, political reputation, agenda, reputation, whatever. I think it's more reputation than it is agenda, straight up. Like, you know, because otherwise why would they instigate, or not instigate, but why would they deploy troops there in the first place, right, if their intention wasn't to win? So it's just like, it's a crazy mindset to me, right? Like, but what do I know? I thought that was a great video by the Fat Electrician. Yeah, no, I definitely want to check out some more from him. Yeah, crazy story there, bunch of badasses that led that. World War II veterans as well, man. Fucking, I didn't expect that, you know. I definitely expected like some more not to be any type of way, but younger thinking minds, I guess, in there, like probably 30, 40-year-olds, what have you. But it does make sense too. World War II veterans, you know, aces, people that are experienced in methods of, I guess, air-to-air combat. Well, air-to-air combat, but also like close air-to-air combat, right? That's the whole reason they got them in the first place, because they have experience in a type of warfare that these boys weren't getting trained on, right, in the modern era. And then suddenly they have an application for it. So I think that's really, really cool as well. Also the humility of those fellas too, to be able to train with their men, train with lower ranked men than them, and act as kind of like the rookies in that instance. I really think that gained the respect of a lot of their men, and gained the respect to me, I will say. Like, I like a leader that, you know, takes the first step kind of thing and is willing to like learn, open their mind, not just be closed-minded in their own way. So yeah, I think that was awesome to see. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and of course leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Big thank you to all of our members, all of our Hastati, our Principes, of course, Dagenhart and Hobbit, of course, our Prefect Fear. Appreciate you guys. You guys inspire me to make more content for you guys every single day. And yeah, you got anything else to say, What 10?
No, I thought it was a great video. Never heard of the operation before. So
no, me neither.
About all the intricacies and all the planning and sort of loopholes and roadblocks and everything that had to be overcame. They were it was very interesting to learn about all of that. Yeah, no, super interesting videos. Again, Fat Electrician making fantastic videos here from what we've seen, and I know a lot of you guys got a lot of new people on the channel that are you know, I guess drawn to the channel for his content. So appreciate having you guys here, you know, for that for all that, you know. Thank you for joining us here on the channel. It's awesome to see you guys here. If you want, come on down, join our Discord. Awesome to see you guys there as well. And yeah, without any further delay, this has been Centurion, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.